Okay, hello everybody. Looks like the stream is up and going. I hope you're all having a great day. This video is going to be going over how to load in sound files and the tone library into your P5 sketch, as well as how to play them back and a few different ways you can go about doing that. Just a few things before we get started. If you've watched, I have a few playlists on this, but I've probably done maybe 2 or 3 videos at this point on this already. I like to try and update this with any changes as they happen. So as the code updates, I'll post updated videos. I try to do it about once a year. Just it also keeps me on my toes for my students and things like that. Um, Also, if you've watched several other videos, you know that normally I'm in the corner of the screen. I've just recently replaced a bunch of light bulbs in the area where I filmed this, and I'm still in the process of adjusting some color balances because they're a different color than before. Uh, so with that being said, hopefully this stream won't be interrupted by a bunch of spam bots in the chat, and my cat will, stop pushing stuff off my desk. Get. There we are. Normally I'd show her off and it would be real cute, but like I said, it's still working out the lighting in here. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. These videos are some of my more viewed ones on YouTube, so if you enjoy it, if you learn something useful, feel free to give it all the like, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff, and we'll jump along from there. Uh, I have links to the 3 tabs I have open on the screen right now in the video description. I'll be referring to them throughout. So you'll be able to find the sketch that I'm making. You'll be able to pull it up and look at it yourself whenever you happen to be watching this video. So let's jump right into it. I know I already said that. And we're going to start with loading in tone into our sketch. So P5 itself is a library. It's not pure JavaScript, and tone is another library. We can use that in a similar way to loading up P5 Play. I've got at the link below, right here on this page. There we go. The HTML line that tells our sketch to find the tone library. Again, it's just a big text file, and to load it into our sketch. So again, the links to this whole textbook are in the description, so you can find that on your own, or just duplicate this sketch that I'm making and also have a link to. But I'm going to copy this and head back to P5 right here. If you click on this little window right here, these are all of the files that are in your sketch. And we're going to go to index.html. And these are the main, the skeleton that supports everything else that we're doing in our sketch. Now, before, when we did stuff with P5 Play, we just added this line in, and it was fine and great and dandy. This one, there's going to be one slight change to what we're doing, and that is, you'll notice this line here, by default, it's on line 5, but it's a place to find the code for the P5 sound library. Now, you can use P5 sound, and in fact, there's a whole section, I believe it's in the extra resources part of this online textbook that is going to go over everything I'm mentioning right here, actually. But basically, P5 sound uses elements of tone in order to build on that and become its own thing. So you can't have both of them in there because it will essentially be defining a lot of the same stuff twice. The computer is going to get confused. It's just not going to work. So what I'm going to do is highlight everything on line 5 and paste in the new line we just copied. It's going to be a bit longer in order to replace P5 sound with tone. And if we go back to our sketch right here, I mean, we won't see a visible difference, but we can load it up. It'll be just fine. Okay, so that's the first part. I mean, if we were to run it, I mean, nothing's different. You can double check and see that it's loaded, though, if you really want to double check. I'll sometimes leave this in, but we can just do a console log for tone right at the beginning. And this will give us some stuff right here. And it's going to be this big, long thing of all the stuff that is in tone. We don't need to go through it, but if you're seeing this, then you know that tone is indeed loaded. I'm going to hide the console for now, and I'm just going to comment that out so it doesn't, log it every single time. So there is the first part. Now, the next thing we need to do is load in some sound files to use. Sorry, my cat, I was being hopeful and hoping she wouldn't try to destroy all my shit. Fix that later. Anyways, I know you can't see it, but it bothers me. So on this third link I've got also in the description are a bunch of free-to-use sound files. You could find one you like. I'm going to pick a probably 2 short ones just so we can... Actually, I'll probably do these 3. Or no, these download. And here's another short one. I don't want these all to be super long, but here are the sounds. I've just downloaded them. They're in my downloads folder. So I'm going to open up my sketch files again, and we're going to add in these files. I like to create a folder and just label it. I usually do sounds, as you can tell by the autofill, just so I know where all of my sounds are. And by default, again, nothing is in this folder, so if you hover your mouse over it, go to the right, and you'll see this downwards triangle. Click it again, and we're going to upload a file. And we have a few options here. I'm going to click, and just with the browser I'm using, you can see these 3 right here that I've done already, but this will just open up a window to navigate and find your files. 2 and 3. There we go. So I've loaded all 3 of these into right here. They are MP3. Okay, so for reasons that I will never understand, it looks like my stream stopped. I don't know exactly when it stopped, so if I'm repeating myself, hopefully I'm not repeating too much. But basically, all I've done is made a folder and loaded in the 3 sounds that I have downloaded from this page that there is a link to in the description. In order to do that, I started with my sketch files. I just clicked create a folder, named it sounds, and then under the sounds folder, I hit upload file and found the 3 in my downloads folder and uploaded them. And there you go. As I was saying before, I noticed that for some reason OBS just said screw you and stopped streaming. Like it wasn't even that there was no data; it just stopped streaming. I had to hit start again before it canceled out on YouTube. Yay, technology. Anyways, if you've done image loading up maybe with P5 Play or some other aspects of P5, we know that there's the function preload. And again, this will load up all of the sound files that you are going to use before you you start doing your sketch, and that's going to be important. So we're gonna need that. I'm gonna call this one. Let's load up FX sound was gonna be the one I'm gonna load. There we go. And we're going to do all the main loading stuff inside of Preload just to avoid some issues. As I'm starting to get into this, I do just want to point out that, again, I have this linked in the description. This page, not right there, but right here, starting is the beginning of a lesson that will kind of go over how to do all of this. It's pretty straightforward. But if you want to see this all in text, there's some code and all of this stuff right here for how to do all of this that you can refer to at any time. So could be a very useful thing. Okay, so in Preload, we are essentially going to create the object that is going to load up and play back the sounds. So I'm going to fx sound. It's going to be a new tone with a capital T dot player. If I could type, there we are. Right there, new tone.player. And the argument is going to be where to find the sound files. I've just made this a little bigger. I'm going to probably change that one so it's a small name. But now we can just say as a string, sounds, the name of my folder, slash fx underscore 1.mp3. And this will find the sound and load it into our player. I'm just going to double check that this doesn't have to be a capital P. It is a capital P. Okay. I always mess that part up, so I just wanted to double check. Tone.player with a capital P, since the player is a class of objects. That makes sense. So now we have loaded in the sound file into fx sound. Whenever we want to play the sound, we just have to trigger it. So in order to do that, I'm going to just set it up so when I click the mouse, it plays the sound. So function mouse press. There we go. There we are. And I'm just going to say fx sound dot start. The start method, well, takes the sound file and starts the playback and plays it from beginning to end. And that's all it is in terms of playing a sound back, is you tell it what sound to play and when with the start method. So if I were to refresh this, though, we're going to run into a few issues. The main one to start with is that I'm going to click the mouse. I'm clicking the mouse if you can't tell, and nothing is happening. That's because we are playing back the sound, but we aren't doing anything with it. We're not sending it to the speakers. In the computer's memory, it's playing back the sound, but we aren't sending it to the right places. So there's a few different ways we can go about this, but I think the easiest is we've made the player, and we can go to the end of it right here, and we can just say dot to destination right here. And what this is going to do is connect the sound player playback to the destination, the output for the sound of your computer. This could be, your headphones, it could be your speakers, it could be, well, wherever the audio is coming out of your computer, that's where it's going to send it. So now I'm going to play this. I don't know if it'll be very loud, so I am warning you. I'm going to click it in 3, 2, 1. Hopefully you heard that. It kind of went, but now we've connected it to the destination speakers. We can hear it. I do want to point out one other thing. I specifically put function mouse pressed as the home for this start. You never, never, never want to do what I'm going to type here. Again, what I am typing is a don't do this. In fact, don't do this if mouse is pressed. It also helps if I set up my conditionals right. Never do this. I'm going to play it right now so you know why not to. But I'll explain it first. So the draw function, as you should already know, repeats itself over and over and over again. The exact speed kind of varies based on your device and your internet connection and what the code's doing, but mine kind of defaults at 60 times a second. So it is going to be checking if the mouse is pressed 60 times a second. Your mouse is going to be down for more than one check every time. That's just like you cannot physically press and move your finger that fast as a human being. So it's going to start this sound several times in a row, and it's going to be kind of really loud, really jarring, and not at all what you're going to want for what any context really. Like it, if you wanted that sound, you wouldn't find another sound file and do this. You would, program a sound that, just does that. So I'm going to play it. It's going to be really loud, really annoying. Again, I'm warning you right now. So 3, 2, 1. So, it sounded like the sound was starting over and over and over again until I finally let up the mouse and it finished playing. So I'm going to comment that whole thing out and bring back the if the function mouse pressed. If you aren't aware, the reason I did it like here is because what this function does is it will check, is the mouse pressed, yes or no, or basically whenever the computer detects that the mouse is pressed, it will execute this code one time, and it won't do it again until the mouse is let go and pressed again. So I'm going to do this, I'll probably click it 2 or 3 times now. I will click it, and it will just play it once. One more time, just to kind of illustrate that. So that's the first bit of all of that, is loading in a single sound file and playing it like so. The next thing I'm going to do is load in multiple sound files. Now, you can repeat this process over and over again. That's totally fine. But there's what I find a slightly better way to do. So I'm going to actually remove FX sound. And I'm going to say let multiplayer. Okay? Multiplayer, I'm calling it this because it's going to load up multiple sounds and play them back. I am just going to rename this one real quick because that's a name I don't want to type. Okay, so like before, I'm going to do this in preload so that way everything gets loaded up and created before we even have run anything else in the sketch. So I'm going to say multiplayer. It's going to be a new tone.players with an S. Okay, and then we get our parentheses and our semicolon, but don't forget the .to destination. You're going to need that if you want to hear any of them. So here's the first part. We have added this new object, and all players with an S are multiple of the tone.player objects all wrapped up inside of one larger level. So we can refer to all of the players at once or just individual specific ones. So if you go into the parentheses after the tone.players, we can open up some curly braces, and this is where we will specify exactly what we want. So we just essentially give the sound a label. So I'll say vase, colon, is it not? That vase, colon, and then just as a string, there we go. I had that backwards, the name of the file. So sounds slash vase plus hit 01 dot mp3. There we are. Comma, and then the next one. Bells. And actually, I'm just going to copy this because it's mostly the same. And now instead of vase hit 01, we'll just be bells.mp3, comma, new one, and oop, and so that will be, I don't know, I'll call this boop. Now we're back to fx underscore 1.mp3. Okay, so now we have loaded in these 3 sounds into our, technically they're in individual players, player objects, but they're all in the multiplayer right here. This way you don't have to make a ton of objects and manage all the stuff. It's just, here's the sound player. If anyone here still listens to albums, I know that at the time I'm recording this, that's kind of less of a thing, but I like to think of it as, this is like your CD album or maybe your playlist, and each of these individual things are tracks on that album or playlist. So you can refer to the whole thing at once, or you can just find a specific song and play it whenever you want to, as opposed to having a bunch of individual MP3 files that you're having to manage. It's just one big thing with all the small files in it. Okay, so let's get into here. I'm gonna comment that out. Function key pressed. Function key pressed does the same thing as mouse pressed if you weren't aware. The only difference is it's whenever any key on the keyboard is pressed. You can specify a specific key. There's multiple ways to do it, but I tend to do it like this with the key code. So if the key code is equal to a certain thing, let's do, I know the space bar is 32. Else if key code is equal to, I know 13 is the enter key, and last but not least, else if key code is equal to the 38 is one of the arrow keys. I don't remember which one, so we're gonna have to find out. And now we can start by telling our sound files which ones to play. So we have to first talk to our larger object, multiplayer, and we're going to use a specific method called player. If you've used older versions of Tone, this may have been a slightly different one, but by saying player, we're telling it which one to play. So as a string, I'm going to type in vase. That's going to be the name that we have given each of our sound files right here. So we're going to play the vase sound, just dot start. Just like so. And I'm going to copy this for the sake of ease. But now instead of vase, I could do, what else did I have? Bells and boop. Bells and boop. It's important that you make sure these all match up, or else the computer won't know where to find your stuff. So now, again, if I click the mouse, nothing happens. But if I hit I'm going to hit each of these in order, so it's going to play 3 sounds. So I'm going to start with, did I get this backwards? 1, 2. No, it just added a space, which made it confusing to look at. Okay, so I'm going to start with the space bar. 3, 2, 1. All right, so there was that sound. I'm going to hit the enter key. 3, 2, 1. And lastly, I'm going to hit the arrow keys until I figure out which one it is. So here we go. That worked out. It was the up arrow key. There we are. So now by hitting each of these buttons, it triggers a sound playback, but we're just maintaining all of our sounds in this single larger object. So whenever I tend to do sound files, unless I have a single one, I tend to group them into this one larger object, just so I only have one to work with, and I can just say, depending on the context, find this sound and play it. Sometimes you might need to make multiple players objects, but I haven't run into a case where I need to do that. But like I said, anything is possible. So I think that's going to kind of wrap it out for now. Some videos you can look forward to if you're kind of following this as I make more and more of them is going in and at this point we downloaded the files and then uploaded them into the sketch. That's totally fine, but I will make a short one just on how to link to a file that's hosted online. That might make your life a little bit easier, but there are a few drawbacks. So we'll talk about that when I make that video. The other one, it'll be how to set up some on-screen buttons that you can click in order to trigger the playback. Again, that's just setting up the start method for whatever sound file you want. Um, After that, then I'll kind of go over how to route the audio through different effects, so you can change up how your sounds sound in order to end that. So I'm going to be wrapping up this video now. Again, all of the information is in the links below. In fact, I'm going to go back after the fact and add in the reference material for tone. So if you want to check that out, I definitely recommend it. I didn't reference it in this video, but I definitely will in future ones. So if you learned something or you enjoyed it, feel free to give the video like, subscribe, comment, all the boring YouTube stuff that everyone mentions. It does kind of help out with all the you know publicity and things like that, getting information out there for everyone. So everyone have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all the next time that I see you. Bye.